In a small town in rural South Dakota, preparations are underway for an 8,500-mile journey to provide healthcare and medical education in Tanzania, Africa. Orphans, the injured, the hungry, and the dying are relying on the success of the mission, so every detail is critical. But being prepared is nothing new to Gayle Stroschein. It's in her nature. For decades, Gayle practiced nursing in emergency rooms and hospitals and taught nursing students. Yet all of Gayle's experience and planning could not prepare her for the unexpected events that would change her life and the lives of so many others.
Well, in 2005, I went in for a routine mammogram and I had breast cancer. So I had to have surgery and treatments, and so I prayed to God. I said, you know, God, if you let me live, I'm here to serve. So I've been cancer-free since. I think my husband thought the cancer had metastasized to my brain because I did quit my nice job and I came home and I've been doing missionary work ever since. I just feel so blessed that God has provided me with the life that I've been given, that I would just like to do something back for people that are less fortunate than us. This is an awesome book, and I highly recommend it. What it is, it gives you daily devotionals that you should, and it really is good. It's about going on small mission trips, and it gives you information on how to prepare yourself physically, spiritually, and mentally to go on a mission trip.
Gayle's teaching experience carries through in her mission work.
A big part of our mission is education, and which my background being a nursing professor for years, it falls right into line. And I work with a lot of universities with students. I take pre-medical students, I take nursing students. A lot of them can get college credit. Many of our universities now require that the students do get some cultural experiences like that.
And so this trip, being what it is with the medical mission trip, I'm like, this is what I need to do. I've wanted to be a doctor since I was 5 years old. I've pushed myself farther than I ever could have expected. I've had setbacks, I've had breakthroughs. This is what I want to do, and I think doing it at my age, at 20, where I'm still in college, before I even can start the journey, will open my eyes and make me want to push harder.
I'm hoping to just be able to experience medicine in another different country and just learn more about how medicine works in other cultures. I just really want to be able to expand my horizons, so that way when I am a healthcare provider someday, hopefully it'll make me better at what I do.
So when we go over there, I wanted to be able to reach out to the people that don't have access to healthcare. So we go out into very remote areas, and mainly it's the Maasai tribe that we deal with. And we go out there, I set up shop. It might be a cardboard box underneath the tree. We took our cars the one day and kind of did them like this so we could have a little shelter area to do examinations, or it might be an old school or whatever.
Gayle's passion for care and dedication to helping people in Tanzania caught fire right away.
The first trip I went on, God planted a seed in my heart. And it was because I saw a part of the country that, I read it in the National Geographic, I saw it on the television. I actually didn't believe people were that poor. I remember walking along the street, and we were in a village, and there was a little kid starving to death. He was dying, he was laying in the road. And I said, you guys, what can we do? Where can we bring this child? And it's unbelievable that people live like that. And so I know that's where God has want me, and I keep going there.
After months of preparation and traveling thousands of miles from the United States, the Hope Ministries team arrives in northern Tanzania at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro. Gayle's mission is unique. Hope Ministries provides more than temporary health care while the team is in Africa. The volunteer teams of American students, nurses, doctors, and surgeons provide learning opportunities for the Tanzanian healthcare providers to expand their knowledge and skills. Through education, local healthcare providers are able to provide better care long after the Hope Ministries teams leave Africa.
We have all walks of doctors that go with me from all over the United States. They get a hold of me. We've done the first brain surgery there. We did the first spine surgery there. We did the first gallbladder microscopically. First ureteral stent. Now we're working on, at this Baganda hospital up in Mwanza, is we're gonna, Dr. Mark and I are helping them set up where they'll do total joints, total knees, total hips. So we've done a lot of firsts there, and part of that is having to I brought thousands of dollars of medical equipment over. And so we bring the equipment over, we teach them how to do it. We're not the type, I've seen missionary organizations go in, they feel like they roll the sleeves up, I'm here to save the day, they shoo everybody out of the room, and then they do their work. That's a Band-Aid fix to a huge problem, the worst thing you could possibly do for those people. So we pull them all in. We got our doctors working with their doctors, and I've got techs working with my techs, I've got everybody. They need to learn how to use that equipment. So we actually do classroom settings. If it's a new procedure, we'll do it in a classroom type setting. Then we go to the OR. My doctors are teaching. I'll do the teaching with the nurses. Then, okay, you do it now. Then they do it, and we're there to help them. So we do a lot of teaching.
I hooked up with Gayle with another missionary trip to Tanzania about 10 years ago, and I think we made a good team. And I really enjoyed working with her. So when she started Hope Ministries, it was just kind of a natural fit, I think. And we shared the same goals, and so ever since I've been coming.
Take her vitals and we'll see if we can.
I think the main thing with Hope Ministries and why it's appealed to me so much is the education standpoint. When Gayle and I first talked and got together with Hope Ministries, early on, she and I both decided it wasn't up to us to come here and do 20 surgeries in a week and then leave. Sure, we would help those 20 people, but if we could educate and train the people that are here, it's going to have a much more of a lasting benefit.
Allergy, but if you get an allergy, it's typically not confined to these areas. It'll be more of a generalized infection.
So education for Hope Ministries has been the main goal. We need to teach the Tanzanians how to take care of themselves and do it well.
She's had this for 2 years.
Yeah. And she's had shortness of breath too.
Hope Ministries also provides financial support for local resident doctors to help them finish their training and education to become specialists.
I had a resident doctor come up to me, and in their country, they can get through medical school if they can get financial help, sometimes with their government. Then they stop. None of them can go on and be specialized. So basically, they would be like general practitioners in our culture. None of them can go on because they don't have the monies to do that. So I have a very, very good friend, Dr. Isidore, who serves on my NGO board over there. And I said, Isidore, why? And I said, what cost? For $2,500 for 3 years, times 3, I can get a specialized surgeon. I said, oh my gosh. So Dr. Mark Wheeler went to Iowa Orthopedics Society and said, you know what? Hey guys, I've been there. We need to help them. So they sponsored our first 2 orthopedic surgeons there who graduated. We had a graduation party for them last January. Those guys are working there. What we do is we make them sign a contract that they have to stay and work at the hospital. That way they don't go run off to another country. They're right there to help those people. And now we have 3 that are going to graduate, an ENT doctor, a urology, and orthopedics. So we're going to have another graduation party when we're there in January. And then I just admitted and gave a scholarship to an internal medicine doctor and an OBGYN doctor.
If you want to do something that is sustainable, I told Mama Gayle 10 years ago, give them education. So you can see from 1 orthopedic surgeon to 10 orthopedic surgeons. So you'll see if we are supposed to see 50 patients a day, now we'll be seeing 50 times 10, 500 patients a day. And operating many, many patients than if I was to operate alone 10 years ago. So that is very, very potential to do that than if she was like bringing surgeons every now and then and not educating the locals.
So I believe that that's how we can change their country is through education. So we're big, huge into that. That probably sets us aside from a lot of other organizations.
Yes, okay.
My name is Julius Solomon Kipuyo, and I'm from Tanzania, Africa.
As much as local Tanzanians need Gayle's mission work, the Hope Ministries team needs the support of local Tanzanians. Soon after Gayle started Hope Ministries, she realized she needed local help, coordinating multiple trips each year. So, Gayle recruited a local assistant who helps prepare the team for arrival and arranges local logistics necessary to get the team around northern Tanzania.
It's a long story. When I met Gayle since 2013, by the time she was working another organization there, then later I met her through my friend and my auntie, where she used to work with. Then we had kind of like a conversation with her. Then later when she was planning to start her own organization, she was working with a guy who is my cousin and very friend of mine. He's called Meshach. But she had some plan to start her own organization, which is now it is Hope Ministries. So by that time she was looking who's gonna help her. Then she was in discussion with Meshach. Gayle contacted him and I think they have some conversation. Gayle asked him, I wanna do this, but I need somebody to assist in my working years. You know, you don't try. It's difficult to trust people, which is especially these two different cultures.
A tremendous amount of organization and work happens in Africa, while Gayle is back home in America, prepping the teams for their African journeys. Gayle knew a high level of trust needed to be established with whomever she hired as an assistant.
Later, she asked him, how about Julius? We met that day, because I think we had some chat before. So Meshach said, yeah, I think you are right to work with this. So try to check if he can agree with you. Then later Gayle gave me a text. Then we are in discussion and gave me some ideas of what she wanna come to do in Africa. She explains a lot of what she wanna come to do. Then I say, okay, maybe I'll be fine. So when you start working, maybe I can get in touch and you know exactly what I'm gonna do. So later we sat down with Gayle and things started work from our first team, I think 2014 in January. Then they started come. This the first year I think they come 3 times, and the second year. Then they started continuously twice a year. Then from that time up to now, our last team was May this year. And things seems like it's going very well.
The team has just come in from doing outreach clinic in Maasai land. We go out and offer clinics to patients that do not have access to health care and or don't have money. And so the first day we saw about 220 patients. Many of those needed to be referred for additional care. And the next day we saw about 160 patients. And now we are in Arusha. We're on our way to Seleon Hospital. Seleon Hospital serves a population of very poor people, which Hope Ministries focuses on helping the poor. It's a little overwhelming. As I try to tell my teams at the meeting, you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster when you're there. They're very, very grateful. I had somebody come up to me one time and say, you know, Gayle, why don't you stay home and take care of the people in the United States? And I said, I've done that. I've worked with the poorest of poor in my own country. But I said I was diagnosed with cancer and God sent me to Africa. And I know that's where I'm supposed to be. And after I got there, I know why he sent me there. Because I've never been anywhere in my country that has a need like they do. Where they're starving to death and they don't know where they're going to get their next meal. And yet, they sing with faith and love to their God beyond anything. I sit in church and the tears run down my face. So Esther is 14 years old. We've seen her 3 or 4 times. She had spina bifida as a child and she has paralysis in the lower extremities. So we have seen her because she has open sores on both heels. We've admitted her in the hospital. I've bought her a wheelchair. I bought her a walker. I bought her braces. So she presents with her feet with open wounds, and now we have a huge wound on the butt. So she's going to be admitted to the hospital. Hope Ministries has funded this entire time because she's with her BB, and BB can hardly afford to eat herself. So we're going to treat that. Then ultimately, I'm going to take the steps to try to see her and get her into children's home because the environment in which she is in is not good. But before I talk to BB about that, I'm going to get a hold of an orphanage to see if they would take her in there then we can make some decisions on what to do with her legs. Because we've been trying to conserve the legs so we don't have to amputate, but we're not making headway, so that ultimately, but if I can get her in a home and they can keep it clean, maybe we can preserve those legs is what we're trying to do.
For Gayle, the mission goes deeper than medical care and education. The people are the reason for all the coordination and all the work.
God refocuses me when I go over there to realize this is what my life is about, and I need to be grateful for what I have. Those people are so grateful, and I mean, I've had people grab my legs crying, and I've had people ask me, what's the hardest thing? You know what it is? Is these people pray and pray for God to send somebody. So when we come there, they go, God has something to help them. When we can't, it's like you take a knife to my heart. The devastation and the look of hopelessness in those people's eyes. I always tell the team, I'm kind of a crier. So I say, if I have to turn and walk away, and Julius knows too, if I need to go for a little walk, I just have to do my little crying and then I'll be back. Because that look in their face, because they feel if we can't help them, this is it. And we can't help everybody. And the first trip I was ever on, that was probably the hardest thing that I had to deal with.
The education, care, and compassion Hope Ministries provides takes more than logistics and planning. Gayle works year-round to support multiple mission trips to Tanzania every year.
Your patient, they didn't pay for
Files, establish the files. Do you want me to pay for that now? Then he can get his card. It used to be, it was pretty easy to get donated medical equipment through and because of my medical background, I knew the companies to get a hold of, but now they don't give anymore. They have a certain budget, so it's hard for you to get. So I've had to buy more equipment. I have found God leads you in paths you don't know where you're going to go, but I have met with a group of nuns out of Mission Outreach out of Wisconsin. They've been very good about, I pay some, but way discounted rate. The Siouxland area here has been huge supporters of mine, and how it's done is through fundraising. So I couldn't do any of this without money. I mean, it's plain and simple. I have to buy medications when I know what medications they have there, what we need to bring. A lot of us, I need to bring the nice, good antibiotics that my docs need and everything like that. So I bring a lot of medications over there. When we go do an outreach clinic, I bring all the medicine. That when they come to that clinic, they will get their meds paid for, they get their surgeries paid for, everything. So we pay for a lot of people's surgeries over there. And at the end of the time, I'll look at Julius and go, oh, I'm in my own pocket. I did bring enough because the need is so huge.
To say this, but this whole cake has to be eaten tonight. No little pieces. No little pieces.
The team has flown up here. This week we are going to be working at Bugando Medical Center. Our primary goals here are to assist them with orthopedic surgeons because I have Dr. Mark Wheeler with me, but our primary purpose up here is education. When the first day we came in on Sunday, we have three residents that we sponsor. One's in orthopedics, one's in urology, and one is in ENT. They just graduated, so we had a graduation party for them. So now we currently have graduated 5 residents. Also, while I'm here, we are admitting 2 residents this fall, one in OBGYN and the other one in internal medicine. So I will be paying their fees. With this program, I'm strongly believe in because we're not just helping one person, we're helping many.
Mama Gayle has been bringing supplies every time she has been coming to Mwanza. So initially once a year, now she's coming biannually. So she has been coming with supplies. So we have improved a lot in terms of equipment and supplies. Like the orthopedic parts, like more than half of the equipment we have are from Hope Ministries.
In the past, without the ability to purchase equipment and get the needed specialized training, healthcare providers in the regions served by Hope Ministries have relied on doing the best they could with what they had to work with. Often, health issues went undiagnosed or untreated.
It was the first time this hospital, which started in 1971, to have equipments in audiology, especially the audiometer and tympanometer. So for the first time, the whole of Lake Zone, for us, our catchment area is around 17 million people. So for the first time, we had that audiometer through the donation, through Hope Ministry. So it completely changed the way we treat our patients in the area of audiology. So through that, we started doing screenings in secondary schools and primary schools, giving them hearing health education. And we screened, for these 4 years, we've screened around 12,000 children, which is wonderful. And those whom we found with problems, we helped them, treat them. For those who had treatable diseases, and those who needed rehabilitation, we did our level best to help them through the rehabilitation. So we have been able to touch a lot of lives through those equipments.
This mission is not a one-way street. As much training, education, and care Hope Ministries offers the Tanzanians, the team also receives back. There's a deep understanding of faith and hope within the people of Tanzania that changes the perspective of those on the Hope Ministries team.
We had a 72-year-old man come in, and his leg was actually healed at a right angle. And he came in with a walking stick. And he hurt and fractured that when he was 18 years old. He had been going around like that. Number one, he had no money, and he had no way to get to the doctor. He had been praying and praying. He told me the story. He says, I've prayed and prayed to God in hopes that somebody would come help me. And I said, why this so long ago? He says, I don't know. I just knew God would send somebody to help me. So I said, okay, I'm going to take you, and I have an orthopedic surgeon coming. Well, for many of them, they're out a long ways. They can't afford the transportation to get to the hospital, so I give them monies. I know where there's a bus. I have some of their social workers with me. They'll help me do the logistics of it all. Then we'll bring him to the hospital, and then we brought him to the hospital, and my orthopedic surgeon goes, oh, Gayle, those old fractures are hard to fix, and this has been a long one. So I had told the man, I said, we can fix it, but that leg may be shorter than the other. He says, that's okay. So we did the surgery. The man should have been screaming in pain, and he was weeping and thanking God because he now had a straight leg. And believe it or not, it wasn't too bad for short either. We didn't even have to put a lift in his shoes, so he was just ecstatic.
For the past 20 days, the Hope Ministries team has provided care to a people in desperate need and education to local providers to help better fill that need. Yet with all the challenges the team has faced, there is so much left undone.
And I had a lady that I was with, she told me the story about starfish. I said, oh, the need is so high, how can we help everybody? I was going crazy. I couldn't get enough monies out of my pocket to help. I was overwhelmed with wanting to help the people. She says, well, did you hear the story about the starfish? And I said, no. She says, the tide had come way up, the starfish came in, and then the tide went down, and not all the starfish got out in the water. And there was a man walking along the beach, and he knew if he didn't get those starfish into the water, they would die. There were so many, how could he possibly save them all? But one at a time, he saved them. And she said, Gayle, that's what you need to focus on, one at a time. So that is the story I've reverted back to many times. That's one when I've had a team member crying about, Gayle, what can we do? Why can't we do more? I revert back to that. We're just doing one at a time. We do the best that we can. So, and Julius and I have 2 drivers there, they leave me off at the airport and I sat there and cry. I always warn the team. I sit on the airplane and the tears roll down my face because I still leave feeling we haven't done enough because that need is that. And yet they are so grateful. I mean, I'll hold a little kid just in my lap And they just are so grateful for what we do. Thank you, asante sana mama, which means thank you. How can you not want to help people like that? And then we go to the orphanage, these little kids sing like angels. And they'll sing and welcome, welcome, welcome to whatever the orphanage is. And I will wake up and hear the songs of those children. I now know that's God's way of calling me back to Africa. Because they're happy. Their lives, they've been sexually abused. Their stories will just break your heart. We can't even imagine. And yet, they're happy, they're singing and everything. It's amazing. It's amazing.
During the 20-day mission journey, Hope Ministries provided care for more than 500 orphans, injured, hungry, and dying people. Gayle knows they cannot help everyone, but the team left Tanzania knowing they saved at least one life. Esther is the 13-year-old paraplegic girl who came to Salian Hospital. Esther lived with her grandmother, who struggled to care for her with no income or resources. The Hope Ministries team feared the open sores on Esther's legs would require amputation. Through prayer, faith, and expert medical care, Esther avoided amputation, and her wounds healed. Hope Ministries found Esther a permanent home at Feather's Tail Orphanage, where she continues to thrive in a loving environment.
So it's always a recharge for me, as when I'm going over there, I get on that plane and I know that I'm going over to get reset again. And I like that. It's a good feeling to me. And my father passed away several years ago, and his last words to me were, "Gayle, keep doing your work in Africa. That's who you are." So I get up on that plane and God, I know my dad's with me as I'm going over there.
Hope Ministries is a Christian organization with God at the center of the mission work. If you'd like to help make a difference, you can reach Hope Ministries at www.hopeministries.co or search for Hope Ministries on Facebook.